Last summer, I found myself in a place where shadows followed and no one ever left. I was 32, fresh out of a tough breakup, and thought a quiet retreat in a small town would help. I rented a charming cottage deep in the forest. The pictures online showed it filled with sunlight and quaint decor. But when I arrived, the place felt different. The roads to the cottage were narrow and winding. The trees loomed high, their branches stretching like fingers. The nearby houses looked old, almost forgotten. Still, I didn't let it bother me. I wanted to be alone, away from all the noise. That first night, I sat by the window, sketching. I could hear the rustle of leaves outside. The darkness wrapped around the forest, creeping in. Suddenly, I saw a flicker of movement. I glanced up quickly, but nothing was there. Maybe it was just my eyes playing tricks. I went to bed, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Even as I closed my eyes, I sensed something lurking outside. The next day was calm. I wandered around the town. It was so quiet, like everyone had vanished. I met a few locals, but their soft whispers felt strange, almost condescending. They smiled, but their eyes seemed cold. I could hear bits of conversation about me, even if I couldn't catch the words. It made me uneasy. Every night, I returned to those shadows. I heard soft thuds outside, like footsteps in the dirt, but every time I looked, no one was there. My heart raced, and doubt crept in. Did I make a bad choice coming here? Then, one morning, I found a small toy on my porch. It was an old stuffed rabbit, dirty and worn. I was sure I hadn't left it there. Where had it come from? Did a neighbor's kid drop it? They could have knocked. Why leave it for me? I started seeing shadows dart between the trees. They felt alive, almost like they were watching me. I wondered if I was losing it. The cold air outside felt heavy, like it carried secrets that I wasn't meant to know. After a while, I decided I needed answers. I approached the nearest neighbor's house, gathered my nerves, and knocked. I waited for what felt like forever. No one answered. I felt foolish. As I turned to leave, I felt someone behind me. My heart dropped. "Why are you here?" I heard, just a whisper. I spun around, but there was only stillness, just the trees groaning softly in the wind. I felt my skin crawl. I ran back to my cottage, my mind racing. The energy had shifted. It was like the town wanted to keep me, hold me back. Shadows were everywhere, reaching out just beyond what I could see. I had come for peace, but all I felt was dread. Something was very wrong, and I couldn't escape. Not yet. I had no idea
What the town wanted from me. It kept its secrets tight, but I was beginning to understand. Sometimes you can run, but you can never truly hide. I spent the next few days in that cottage, battling an itch of fear that refused to fade. The rabbit stayed on my porch, a silent reminder of the unease. I could feel eyes upon me, and it was worse at night. I couldn't ignore the feeling any longer. I needed to know more about this place. So, that morning, I decided to venture into the town again. This time, I was determined to talk to someone. I headed for the general store, hoping to find some answers about the last occupants of my cottage, or the town's history. The bell above the door jangled as I entered, and a man behind the counter looked up. His face was weathered, lined like the bark of an ancient tree. He nodded, but didn't offer a greeting. I stood there, feeling the weight of his stare. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice gravelly. Yeah," I replied, trying to sound casual. "I'm staying at the cottage up the road. I was wondering if you knew anything about it or its last tenant?" He paused, his expression hardening. "People come and go, but not all leave." The chill in his voice sent a shiver down my spine. I swallowed hard, but I pressed on. "What do you mean?" "The woods keep secrets," he said, glancing toward the windows as if expecting something to come crashing through. "Maybe it's better you don't know, girl." I furrowed my brow, bewildered. It felt like he was warning me off. "I just want to understand this place." "And that's the problem," he responded dismissively before returning to his work. I left the store feeling more unsettled than before. I wandered around town looking for other ways to connect. I noticed children playing in a field, their laughter echoing in the heavy air. But when I approached, they fell silent, their eyes watching me with a peculiar intensity. Thinking better of it, I turned away. Something wasn't right. Later that night, I sat inside, sketching again. I tried to focus on the soothing rhythm of my pencil against the paper, but restless thoughts kept intruding. Was this town truly hiding something, or was it all in my head? At midnight, I jolted awake. A thud outside pulled me from sleep. Heart racing, I rushed to the window. The forest was dark, but I could make out a figure standing among the trees. It was just barely visible, but it felt like it was staring right at me. My breath caught in my throat. Then, without warning, it moved. The figure darted into the woods, and I was instantly gripped by the urge to follow. What was I doing? It could be dangerous. Yet, something inside me whispered that I had to know. I grabbed my coat and slipped outside. The forest was dark, but I could make out a figure standing among the trees. It was just barely visible, but it felt like it was staring right at me. My breath caught in my throat. Then, without warning, it moved. The figure darted into the woods, and I was instantly gripped by the urge to follow. What was I doing? It could be dangerous. Yet, something inside me whispered that I had to know. I grabbed my coat and slipped outside. The cold air hit my skin, but I didn't turn back. I stepped carefully, trying to avoid branches and twigs that could give away my presence. As I crept deeper into the tree line, it felt like the darkness was swallowing me whole. Then, something caught my eye, a glimpse of white. It was the stuffed rabbit, lying on the ground, dirtied and slightly crumpled. I bent down to pick it up, curiosity tugging at me. That's when I heard it, whispers all around me. I froze. The voices seemed distant yet close, murmuring secrets I couldn't understand. "Keep her," they said. "She belongs." My pulse quickened as dread settled over me like thick fog. Whatever game this town was playing, I was no longer just an observer. I turned to flee, and everything went dark. I woke up with a start, gasping for air, as if I had just come up from underwater. The ground beneath me felt cold and damp. I pushed myself up, confusion swirling in my mind. Everything was dark, but it wasn't a complete void. Faint moonlight seeped through the branches above, casting eerie shadows across the forest floor. I was still in the woods. The whispers had stopped, yet the silence felt thick, as if the very air was conspiring to keep me quiet. I climbed to my feet, heart pounding in my chest. The rabbit lay where I had dropped it, a ghostly figure in the shadows. I reached down to grab it again, clutching the worn fabric as a small comfort. Just then, I heard it, a rustle in the underbrush. I turned, my breathing quickening. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. I knew it was stupid. I shouldn't have said anything. The stillness returned. Then I caught a glimpse of movement, something shifting behind a tree. I took a step backward, the rabbit pressed tight against my chest, my instincts screaming at me to run. But my legs felt heavy, rooted in place. Another rustle, closer this time, and I saw a figure slip into the dull light. It was a girl, perhaps around my age, but her face was obscured by shadows. She emerged slowly, as if carefully considered each step she took. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice still shaky. "Are you lost?" she asked, her tone soft yet guarded. She seemed wary, but not threatening. The moment her eyes met mine, I felt a strange connection, like she understood the fears bubbling inside me. I don't know," I replied honestly. "I just wanted to know what's going on here." Her expression shifted, as if she realized the weight of my words. "You shouldn't be here at night. It's not safe." "Why?" Before she could answer, I felt an electric charge in the air. A sudden wind swept through the forest, causing the branches to sway. I glanced toward the direction I had fled from earlier. The whispers were back, coiling like vines around White.
Keep her. She belongs. What is that? I asked, trembling. The girl's face paled. She took a step closer. You need to leave, now. No, wait, I protested, taking a step forward. What do you know? Please tell me. She looked over her shoulder, as if expecting someone to appear from the shadows. They'll come for you. They come for those who seek the truth. The words sent a chill down my spine. Who are they? Those who were here before you, she said, her eyes darting nervously. Those who never left. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the trees. I spun around, heart racing. Whatever was out there was getting closer. I could feel it. Run, she shouted. Without thinking, I took off, the rabbit swinging in my arms. I had no idea where I was going, but I couldn't stop now. The forest closed in around me, branches clawing at my skin, fear propelling me forward. That's when I saw it ahead, a light flickering through the trees. A cabin? My breath hitched with a mixture of hope and dread. Would it be my escape or another trap? Wait, I heard the girl call after me, but I didn't look back. All I could think about was getting to that light. As I drew nearer, it flickered once more, just as the whispers in the woods grew louder. Keep her, she belongs. I burst through the trees, heart racing, desperate for answers, not knowing what awaited me in the light. The cabin stood quiet and foreboding, nestled among the trees like a secret waiting to be uncovered. The light flickered again, casting an almost ghostly glow through the cracked windows. I paused for just a second, instincts battling with the urge to flee. The whispers in the woods were louder now, a cacophony of urgent voices pressing against my mind. I took a tentative step toward the cabin, the darkness around me feeling alive. I reached the door and pushed it open, the hinges creaking in protest. The room inside was dim, illuminated only by a single oil lamp on a table. Dust motes danced in the air, remnants of abandonment. Had someone really been here before me? Or was this place just another ghost of the forest? I stepped inside, every sound amplified in the silence. The crunch of dirt beneath my shoes, the whisper of my breath. The air felt thick. I tightened my grip on the rabbit, a small anchor in this storm of fear. Then something shifted outside. The girl appeared in the doorway, her figure silhouetted against the moonlight. You can't stay here, she warned, her voice urgent. You need to leave before they come. Who? What do you know? I shot back, frustration mingling with fear. You can't just appear and then run away. They're here, she said, glancing nervously behind her. They can sense you. They want you. That didn't help me at all. I don't want to be wanted. I just want to understand. The girl stepped inside, closing the door with a firm hand. You're asking questions that shouldn't be asked. We need to leave now, before it's too late. I shook my head, torn between wanting to trust her and wanting to scream. I can't just run away without answers. Suddenly, the whisper sharpened into screams, echoing through the cabin walls. Keep her! She belongs to us! My heart raced again, the sound becoming a physical force that pressed against my chest. The girl took a step toward me, her eyes wide with terror. You don't understand, she whispered, voice trembling. They only let you ask questions if they plan to take you. Before I could respond, the door rattled violently. Something outside was trying to get in. Panic surged through me. What do we do? Hide, she shouted. We scrambled to the back of the cabin, finding a space under a rickety table. We crouched low, the darkness wrapping around us like a shroud. I could hear the whispers intensifying, a chorus of voices beyond the wood. They talked about me, repeating my name, my real name. I felt exposed and vulnerable. "What do they want?" I managed to ask in a whisper. "They want to claim you," she replied, her voice tight with fear. "Just like the others, they don't let anyone leave." The door creaked again, the sounds of something or someone entering the cabin. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. I strained to listen, desperately searching for a way out. Then the whispers stopped. An eerie silence filled the space, thick with foreboding. I could barely breathe as I realized we weren't alone. The stillness pressed against me, suffocating and heavy. My ears strained to catch any sound, but only the echo of my breath filled the air. I felt the girl shiver next to me, her body tense with fear. In that dark space beneath the table, time slowed. Every second felt like an hour. Then a soft scraping noise echoed near the door. The sound was almost casual, like someone sliding their hand along the wooden surface. I peered out from our hiding place, heart pounding. The girl's eyes urged me to stay quiet. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the room, fluid and unnatural. It twisted and slithered, an inky darkness that seemed to defy the light of the oil lamp. I felt the cold chill of dread clawing at me, systems screaming to run. "Stay still," the girl hissed, her voice barely above a whisper. "They can see movement." The shadow paused, then drifted closer to us. My breath caught in my throat as the figure revealed itself. It was tall and thin, with elongated limbs and a face hidden in darkness. I couldn't make out its features, but I felt its gaze upon me, like icy fingers tracing my skin. "Find her," it rasped, voice hoarse and echoing. I squeezed the rabbit tighter. "It's
Warmth, a fleeting comfort. What do they want?" I whispered urgently to the girl. "Why me?" "I don't know," she responded, her voice trembling. "But whatever it is, it's not good." The shadow moved again, creeping toward the table. I wanted to bolt. I wanted to scream. I felt trapped, the walls closing in. But I couldn't move. I had to know what would happen next. "Let her go!" the girl shouted suddenly, her voice breaking through the silence. I winced, and the shadow hesitated, as if considering her words. "Leave," it replied, voice chilling. "It's too late for her. She belongs to us now." Panic surged through me. My heart raced as the girl grabbed my hand, squeezing it tight. "We have to go, now!" With a sudden burst of courage, I pulled myself free from the table's confinement. Adrenaline flooded my veins. "We can't let them take me," I shouted, moving as quickly as I could toward the door. But the shadow lunged forward, reaching with its clawing hands. I barely escaped, ducking as I darted past it, my pulse roaring in my ears. The girl followed closely, but I could sense the desperation flickering behind us. The door swung open as we rushed outside, the cool night air hitting my face like a splash of cold water. But freedom was short-lived. The whispers rose again, enveloping us. The woods felt alive, branches clawing at us as we stumbled away from the cabin. "We can't stop," I gasped, casting a fearful glance back. The cabin stood like a dark sentinel, the shadow now retreating inside. "Forward," the girl insisted, pulling me deeper into the trees. "We need to find cover." As we moved, I realized that the whispers were now calling to me again, more urgently than before. "You can't run. You belong to us." That's when I saw it. A light flickering in the depths of the woods, a beacon in the dark. But as I turned toward it, I was struck by a chilling realization. I wasn't running toward salvation. I was running toward something worse. I squinted against the darkness as we pushed toward the flickering light. It was dim, barely cutting through the thick trees, but it was better than the oppressive blackness surrounding us. My stomach twisted with nerves. I had no idea what awaited us, but it felt like a trap. "Is it safe?" I asked, my voice trembling. The girl's expression was a mixture of determination and fear. "We need to take the chance," she replied, scanning the shadows behind us. "They're still coming." I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting the darkness to erupt with shadows. All I saw were trees bent with age, their branches whispering the secrets of the night. My thoughts raced. Why now? Why were they after me? I had never felt like I belonged to anything, and suddenly something, or someone, wanted me. As we crept closer to the light, it transformed from a mere flicker to
a steady glow. It was coming from a small clearing. The air buzzed with static, and I could feel the weight of something unnatural pressing in around us. What if it's one of them? I hesitated, fear tightening my throat. What if it's a trap? "Then we'll fight," the girl said fiercely, though I could hear her own uncertainty. It felt like a futile promise. We pushed through the underbrush until the trees parted, revealing an old, battered lantern standing alone in the clearing. The lantern's flame danced fiercely against the night, as if defying the darkness. But there was something off about it. The light didn't seem to cast any shadows. It simply floated in the air, bright and blinding at its center. I marveled at the sight. My feet instinctively moved toward it, drawn in like a moth. The girl grabbed my arm just in time. "No, stay back!" "What are you doing?" I shouted, but the whispers grew louder, swirling around us like wind. "They want my light." "Not that light," she yelled back, panic coloring her voice. "It's a lure. We can't let it catch us." The shadows around the clearing began to pulse, as if the darkness itself was alive, thrumming with energy. I could see shapes moving within it, reaching toward us, grasping and clawing at the air. My breath caught as the realization hit me. They were watching, waiting for us to approach the light. "We need to hide," I yelled, searching for a place to conceal ourselves. My eyes fell upon a hollowed tree trunk just a few feet away, half swallowed by the underbrush. "Quick!" The girl tugged me toward it, and we ducked inside, pressing our bodies against the damp wood. The whispers intensified, thrumming with a malevolent hunger. "They can smell us," I muttered, heart racing as the dark shapes loomed closer. "We need to do something. We can't just hide." "Just keep quiet," she hissed, her eyes wide with fear. We watched through a crack in the wood as the shadows surged closer, separated by only a few feet of space. Then everything went dark. The lantern flickered with a frantic urgency before extinguishing completely. It was as if the light had been snuffed out, leaving us shrouded in terrifying blackness. "What happened?" I murmured, but the girl's face paled. "They know where we are now." A low, haunting sound filled the air, rising from the shadows like a chorus of forgotten souls. I felt it penetrate my bones, chilling me deeply. My pulse quickened, and I grabbed her hand tighter, knowing we had run out of time. The shadows closed in around our hiding spot. I could almost see their forms twisting and writhing, hunger radiating from them like heat. And just when I thought they would reach us, I caught something outside the trunk, a glimpse of a figure. It was not a shadow. It stood tall and solid, casting a shadow of its own. My heart dropped as I stared at the figure outside the hollow trunk. It was unlike anything I'd seen. Tall and solid, it had a glow faintly similar to that of the extinguished lantern. I couldn't make out details, but its presence felt real and powerful. The shadows stirred around it, hesitant, almost like they were waiting for permission. "What is that?" I whispered, fear mixing with curiosity. "I don't know," the girl replied, her voice barely a breath. "But it might be our only chance." As the dark shapes moved closer, prying at the edges of our hiding spot, the figure took a step forward. Light rippled off of it, casting back the darkness just a little. The shadows hissed and recoiled, as if repelled by this entity. I wondered if it was friend or foe, but there didn't seem to be time to debate. "Now," she urged, and we crawled toward the entrance, inching closer to whatever that figure was. The shadows were relentless, but the glow from the figure fueled a spark of hope within me. As we slipped out from the trunk, I stole a glance back. The shadows reached for us, clawing and shrieking. The sound echoed like 1,000 voices merging into one terrifying chorus. I turned just in time to see one dark tendril break away from the group and lash out at us. "Get down!" I screamed, throwing myself and the girl to the side. The tendril missed, curling back into the darkness with a hiss. The figure turned toward us. There was something protective in its stance, as if it meant to shield us from the inevitable danger. "Follow me," it commanded, and despite my instinct to question it, something about its voice felt safe. We moved quickly, sprinting toward the figure. As we got closer, I noticed strange markings on its skin, glowing softly. The girl had not hesitated. She darted right behind it. I followed suit as another tendril darted toward us, barely grazing my arm. A burning pain shot through me, but I pushed it aside. The figure led us deeper into the woods, dodging trees and underbrush, the shadows clawing at our heels. I could feel the girl's fear resonating through our connection. "We can't stop," she shouted, glancing back at me, her face pale. In sheer desperation, I reached out and held tightly to the figure's arm. "Where are you taking us?" "To safety," it replied. "But you must trust me. They want to steal your light." That sent a chill through me. I had no idea what that meant, but the darkness was closing in, and I felt a deep sense of urgency. "Are we close?" I gasped. The figure paused, looking back at the shadows surging behind us. They seemed to move with a mind of their own, growing bolder, trying to cut us off. "Just a bit farther," it assured me, but its voice had an edge of uncertainty, like the very woods were conspiring against us. Then, without warning, the ground trembled beneath us. Trees shuddered, their roots twisting, and a low growl filled the air. It was the sounds of something monstrous stirring, waking from an ancient slumber. I stumbled, almost losing my footing. I shared a frightened glance with the girl, the reality hitting me hard. We were running out of time. That was when I saw it, a faint glow ahead through the trees, a glimpse of an exit. But I could feel the shadows lunging once more, furious at our escape. "Run!" I shouted, propelled by the surge of adrenaline coursing through me. I pushed ahead, the urge to escape overriding all doubt, leaving the haunting growls behind us. But just as we neared the glow, I realized the figure was starting to fade. It turned to me, urgency etched in its features. "You must make it. Do not look back." The light grew brighter, but it wasn't enough to drown out the shadows closing in. My heart raced as I plunged forward, grabbing the girl's hand. We burst into the clearing, leaving the whispers behind, but not without the feeling of dread that came with the foreboding silence following our escape. What had we just unleashed? And why did it feel like we were being drawn deeper into a nightmare? The clearing opened up around us, bathed in a light that felt both foreign and disorienting. It was an oasis, a stark contrast to the darkness we had fled. But I couldn't shake the feeling that it was too good to be true. I glanced back over my shoulder and saw the figure dissolve into the shadows as if it had never been there, and the sight sent a shiver down my spine. "What now?" I breathed, panting heavily. The girl looked around, her eyes darting nervously. "There has to be something here," she said, her voice shaky. "We need to find out what happened to the light." I barely heard her, my heart still pounding from the last chase. The silence in the clearing felt unsettling, the air thick with a tension I couldn't quite name. I scanned the area, looking for something, anything that could make sense of what we just experienced. Suddenly, I spotted movement out of the corner of my eye. My breath caught. A small figure, hunched over and watching us from behind a moss-covered rock. I stepped cautiously forward, motioning for the girl to stay back. The figure didn't move, but I could feel its gaze, heavy and unyielding. "Hello?" I called, my voice unsure. "Are you okay?" The figure shifted, revealing an old woman with wild white hair, her skin weathered like the bark of the trees surrounding us. Her eyes were sharp, filled with knowledge and sorrow. "You should not be here," she said, her voice raspy but clear. "This place is not safe." "Neither was that forest," I shot back, my anger mingling with fear. "What was that thing?" She looked at me with a mixture of pity and understanding. "That was the guardian. It protects the light from those shadows." The weight of her words sank in. "And where is it now?" "Lost," she answered, her tone heavy with regret. "With it gone, the shadows are free to roam. They will come for the light within you." I stepped back, instinctively searching for the girl. "We don't have much light. We're not special. Why would they want us?" The woman's eyes softened. "You don't realize your own power," she said, "but they know, and they will stop at nothing to take it from you." A loud rustling in the trees jolted my attention. I turned, dread pooling in my stomach. The shadows were creeping towards us from the edges of the clearing. They moved like sentient vines, reaching, clawing, hungry. "Quick!" I yelled, grabbing the girl's hand. "We have to move!" The old woman pointed deeper into the woods. "You must find the well of light. It's your only hope." Before I could question her any further, the shadows lunged into the clearing, tendrils twisting and curling like snakes. I pulled the girl along, adrenaline coursing through me once more. We ran, dodging the grasping darkness, desperate for the safety the woman had spoken of. But as we barreled deeper into the woods, a growl echoed between the trees, loud and foreboding. My heart sank. The monstrous presence from earlier had found us. We weren't just racing against time. We were racing against something far more dangerous. That's when I saw it. A glimmer between the branches, a faint glow unlike any we'd seen. Hope surged, but I felt the shadows mingling with doubts. Could it really be the well of light? I had to find out. But first, we had to escape the clutches of the dark. I pushed on, dragging the girl with me. The shadows lingered just behind, whispering threats in a language I didn't understand. I tried to focus on the glow ahead, forcing myself to believe it was our way out. "Do you see it?" I shouted over my shoulder, my voice tinged with urgency. She nodded, breathless, her eyes wide with fear. "But what if it's a trap?" I didn't have an answer. The growl sounded again, closer this time, shaking me to my core. We couldn't stop to think. I sprinted, pulling her along with renewed determination. As we reached the edge of the clearing, the glow intensified. It was a small pool of shimmering light, surrounded by ancient stones. I didn't hesitate. The moment we stumbled into the illuminated area, the darkness hesitated too, as if it feared crossing an invisible boundary. "What is this place?" the girl gasped, awe replacing her fear. "I don't know," I admitted, my eyes searching the perimeter. "But I think it's the well the woman spoke about." In the center of the pool lay a vibrant orb, pulsating like a heartbeat. It filled the air with warmth, pushing back against the cold, creeping shadows. I stepped closer, drawn to its brilliance, longing for the safety it promised. Then, everything changed. A rush of wind surged through the clearing, and I felt the shadows pulling at my edges, trying to reclaim what they had lost. I grasped the girl's arm tighter. "We need to stand together. If we reach for it—" Before I could finish, the growl erupted into a roar, echoing off the trees. A massive figure broke through the underbrush. It was the creature from before, larger and wilder in the light, its eyes like burning coals fixed on us. "Run!" I screamed, sensing its hunger. We dashed toward the glowing orb, but the creature was faster, lunging toward us with terrifying speed. My heart raced, and I felt the pull of despair clawing at my thoughts. Just before we reached the edge of the pool, the earth trembled beneath our feet. I turned back, and the sight of the creature, teeth bared, sent a new wave of panic coursing through me. Its shadow reached out, stretching toward the light, toward us. Then, from the depths of the orb, a voice emerged, echoing, "You must embrace the light, fight with it, or be consumed." I felt the girl's fear radiating off her. "I don't know how," she cried. "Just trust me," I shouted back, facing her, trying to instill courage. "Hold my hand." We clasped hands tightly. It was a moment of clarity amidst the chaos. I focused on the orb, feeling its energy surge through me like a lifeline. On three. 1, 2, 3. Together, we reached forward, stretching our other hands toward the orb as the shadows clawed at our backs. Just as the creature lunged, enveloping us in its dark embrace, we plunged into the brilliance. Everything went blindingly white. For a moment, I felt weightless, absorbed by the light. Then the world came crashing back, and I gasped, fighting to comprehend what had just happened. But the light was flickering, and I could sense the shadows rallying, preparing for another attack. "We have to figure this out," I said, holding on to the girl's hand. "Whatever we just did, it's not enough to keep them away." The shadows whispered, swirling around as a new danger emerged. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were far from done. The blinding light dimmed, and slowly the world around us regained its shape. The pool shimmered beneath our feet, casting ethereal colors across the clearing. I blinked, trying to make sense of what had just transpired. The fear still clung to me, heavy and unyielding. "Are we safe?" the girl asked, her voice a whisper, her grip tightening on my hand. The air felt different, charged, as if the very atmosphere was alive with energy. The darkness still loomed just beyond the edges of the clearing, but now the shadows hesitated, flickering like flames in a breeze. I glanced back toward the tree line, half up, expecting the monstrous figure to break through, but it lingered just out of sight. "I don't know," I admitted, "but we have to keep moving." The glow of the pool had awakened something inside me. I felt stronger somehow, though doubt gnawed at the edges of my bravery. "We can't let them take us. We need to find a way to use this light." The girl nodded, determination sparking in her eyes. "We need to reach the source. Maybe it can help us push them back for good." Together, we turned toward the pulsating orb at the center of the pool. As we approached, its light glimmered with life, pulsating rhythmically like a heartbeat. I reached out tentatively, fingertips grazing the cool surface. "Focus on the light," I instructed, feeling the warmth radiate from the sphere. "Think of what it represents: safety, power, hope." The girl mirrored my stance, her gaze fixed on the orb, and the moment we connected, a surge of energy flooded through us. I closed my eyes, picturing a barrier, something solid to push back the darkness. We need to keep it alive, draw from it. Suddenly, the whispers grew more frantic, echoing through the trees, angry and insistent. "Leave! She belongs to us!" the shadowy voices hissed. As if sensing our resolve, the pool flared brightly, and the shadows shifted nervously. The air thickened with tension, and the growl from earlier reverberated through the clearing, closer this time. "They're coming!" I shouted, feeling the full weight of our peril. We had to act quickly. "Focus," the girl urged. "We can't let them take the light, not again." Drawing on that weird connection I felt with the orb, I pushed my intent through it. "We won't let them take us." In that moment, the orb responded, sending waves of energy cascading outward. Motes of light exploded into the surrounding darkness, creating a brilliant barrier of luminescence. It pushed against the shadows, but not enough. Their hunger was relentless. I caught a glimpse of the monstrous figure, eyes blazing, surging toward us with renewed fury. "Together," I cried, and we squeezed our hands tighter. I felt our unity channeling through the light, as if it were alive, breathing. "We are stronger than them. We belong to the light," I screamed. A pulse shot through the air, shaking the clearing with reverberations of power. The orb brightened, and a furious blast of light erupted outward, flooding the trees, cutting through the shadows like a knife. For a moment, everything felt suspended, as the shadows reeled and shrieked, disintegrating at the edges. I could feel their grasp receding. They were afraid. "We can do this," I encouraged her, feeling new strength swelling within. But then, just as suddenly, the light flickered dangerously. "No, come on," I pleaded, pulling her closer to me. But the shadows were regrouping, coalescing into a terrifying form, growing bolder with each pulse of dimming light. I could see their eyes, burning with rage, instinctively hunting for the light within us. Just then, a realization shot through me, almost instinctual. "It's us," I gasped. "The light inside, it's us together. We need to believe it." With that thought igniting within us, I felt a wave of light collecting around us, amalgamating our strength. I chanted to the glow, pushing against the shadows. "You can't take us, not now." The vibrant light surged anew, repelling the darkness once more. But it was clearer now. I could feel the weight of the shadowy figures outside, their wrath brimming at the surface. But we grounded ourselves in the light as the orb expanded, pulsing with energy. "I can feel it," the girl shouted, a spark igniting in her eyes, the connection amplifying as we became entwined with the light. "It's us. It's always been us." Reinforced and emboldened by the energy swirling around us, we focused on holding it. The shadows reeled, caught off guard, splitting and disbanding. Yet they weren't gone. "It won't hold forever," I cried, fear creeping into the edges of my nerves. "We have to do something." But just as I wondered how to act, I felt another tremor underfoot, the clearing shifting and flowing like water. The ground beneath us twisted, and the pool of light fluctuated dangerously. Suddenly, the darkness surged forward, a vengeful tide pushing back against the illuminated barrier. "Keep going," I urged, desperate to maintain the balance. The girl's eyes brightened with clarity as she gritted her teeth, determination solidifying into conviction. "Let's finish this." We raised our arms as we began to remember who we were, where we came from. For the first time, I felt the struggle within me transform into something productive. We can wield our light, show them who we are. We pressed forward, and with a unified scream, we cast our combined force into the night, and the light exploded outward, filling the clearing with radiant brilliance. In that moment, an explosion of energy ripped through the shadows. The darkness screamed, disintegrating into the ether, vanishing completely under the overwhelming power of our combined essence. The monstrous growl echoed distantly, muffled by the rebirth of the light. Panting, I dropped to my knees, my heart racing, utterly depleted, but filled with the warmth of satisfaction. We did it," the girl murmured, awe in her voice. "It's gone." But even as we cherished the victory, something didn't feel resolved. The forest still felt watchful, the whispering trees vibrating with a lingering presence. "We're okay, right?" I asked, glancing back at the clearing as remnants of the light flickered, longing to burst forth again. "I don't know," the girl replied, her brow furrowed. "But something tells me they won't give up easily." The underlying tension settled again, a shadow of unease lingering heavily in the air. "Then we leave," I whispered,
hoping to reclaim the agency I almost lost forever. We can't let them find us here. We turned, stepping cautiously back into the
woods. The path ahead is still entwined with secrets, each step echoing both freedom and uncertainty. It hadn't ended. Not entirely. I moved forward, gripping her hand tightly. I knew I would never truly escape the shadows, but perhaps together we could light the way through the darkness. A lingering thought echoed in my mind. What other truths waited in the depths of this enchanted forest? And as the trees closed in behind us, the lingering shadows began to recuperate. I couldn't shake the feeling we were being watched, always watched.